For 9 years, he slept on concrete. For 9 winters, he wrapped himself in newspaper. For 9 summers, he begged for water instead of hope. And then, one stranger stopped in front of him and said just 3 words: I know you. Those 3 words didn't just change his day, they changed his entire life. Before the streets gave him a name like that homeless guy by the bridge, before people crossed the road to avoid his eyes, he was once someone. His real name was Daniel Carter, and once upon a time, Daniel had everything a simple man could want: a steady job, a small apartment, a woman he loved, and a dream he was quietly working toward. Daniel wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but he was proud. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., his alarm would buzz. By 7:30, he was already on the bus, lunch packed in a brown paper bag. By 8, he stood at the same factory gate, clocking in as a mechanical technician. He fixed machines, he tightened bolts, he solved problems no one else wanted to touch. And every Friday evening, he took a different bus, the one that led to the small apartment where Emily waited for him. Emily had the kind of smile that made you believe in weekends. They weren't wealthy, but they were building something together. They talked about marriage, they talked about kids, they talked about a little house near water one day. Life felt slow, stable, predictable, and Daniel believed, wrongly, that predictable meant unbreakable. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Ordinary days destroy people more efficiently than dramatic ones. A machine jammed at the factory. Someone skipped a safety check. Daniel stepped in to fix it. And in the space between one breath and the next, steel crushed bone. He woke up in a hospital with his left leg shattered beyond full recovery. The doctor stood at the front of his bed and spoke carefully. "You'll walk again," he said, "but not like before, and heavy labor will be difficult." That sentence quietly erased Daniel's future. Recovery took months, bills piled up, savings disappeared. The company quietly replaced him. Emily tried to stay strong, but love gets heavy when fear becomes permanent. Stress became arguments, arguments became distance, distance became silence. One evening, Daniel returned from physical therapy to an empty apartment. No note, no goodbye, just the echo of who he used to be. At first, Daniel still believed this was temporary. He took off his cleaning work at night, call center jobs during the day, anything to survive. But injuries don't heal in poverty. Painkillers became routine. Missed shifts became normal. Soon, rent missed him before he missed rent. Eviction happened quietly, no shouting, just a folded paper on the door. Daniel slept on a friend's couch, then another's, then nowhere. By the time he slept outside for the first time, he still believed this was only for a week. That week became 9 years. The streets don't shock you at first, they erode you. Hunger becomes normal, cold becomes expected, being ignored becomes survival. Daniel learned which corners were safer, which soup kitchens survived second portions, which nights police would push people away. His reflection in shop windows became unfamiliar. His name faded. People called him Sir, Buddy, or nothing at all. He stopped looking at himself in mirrors, because mirrors require a future. Year 9 was the worst. Winter didn't arrive gently. It attacked. The river froze. Shelters overflowed. Bodies became statistics. Daniel developed a fever so intense he hallucinated. He saw Emily standing at the front of his cardboard bed. He saw his old factory. He saw himself walking without pain. On the coldest night of that year, Daniel decided he would not survive another winter. He wasn't suicidal. He was simply exhausted from staying alive. And that morning, he sat at his usual spot beneath the bridge, waiting for the world to finish forgetting him. Footsteps slowed in front of him, not the fast, guilty pace of someone avoiding eye contact, not the cautious shuffle of someone dropping coins. These steps stopped. Daniel didn't look up. Then the voice came, firm, gentle, certain. I know you. Daniel lifted his head slowly. The man was in his mid-40s, clean coat, watch on his wrist, soft eyes. Daniel searched the man's face and shook his head. You must be wrong. The man crouched down beside him. No, Daniel, he said, I am not. Daniel's breath caught. No one had spoken his name in years. The man continued, You don't recognize me, but I remember you. 9 years earlier, a terrified young man collapsed in a factory tunnel after an explosion. Smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed. People ran. One man didn't. Daniel. He dragged a stranger, unconscious and bleeding, out of that factory before the ceiling fell. That stranger's name was Michael Hayes. Michael had gone on to rebuild his life, won lawsuits, started a construction company, built wealth. But he never forgot the man who carried him through fire. And now, after 9 years of searching, Michael had found him. Michael studied Daniel's shaken hands, sunken eyes, torn jacket. Then he said the three words that changed everything. Come with me. Daniel laughed weakly. Where? Michael stood, back to life. The hot shower burned Daniel's skin. He stood under it for nearly an hour, letting years of dirt and pain wash into the drain. Warm food made him cry. A bed made him shake. Clean clothes made him feel unworthy of them. He slept for 14 hours straight. For the first time in 9 years, he dreamed without fear. Michael didn't offer Daniel money. He offered him structure, doctor appointments, physical therapy, counseling, addiction recovery, skill retaining. Progress was humiliating, slow, painful, but it was forward. Daniel failed often, but he wasn't alone when he failed. Michael never treated him like a charity case. He treated him like a man still becoming. 2 years passed. Daniel learned computer-based machinery diagnostics. His hands shook less. His steps grew steadier. For the first time in over a decade, he received a paycheck with its own name printed on it. He rented a small room, then a studio, then finally a modest apartment. On the wall above his bed, he taped 3 words, Come with me. One afternoon, Daniel received a message through social media. It was Emily. She had seen a newspaper article about a former homeless man rebuilding his life through rehabilitation programs funded by a construction company. She recognized his eyes. They met for coffee. She cried. She apologized. She told him she never thought he'd survive. Daniel listened quietly. Then he smiled. I did, he said, and I forgive you. But he didn't return to her, because survival had changed him into someone who no longer needed to be chosen. Years later, Daniel stood on a stage, not as a victim, not as a miracle story, but as a mentor. In front of him sat dozens of men and women from shelters. He told them his story, but he didn't end it with survival. He ended it with choice. The streets don't define you, he said. But what do you do when someone offers a hand? Does. For 9 years, Daniel believed the world had forgotten him. But the truth was simpler. Life doesn't forget us. It only waits until we're ready to step back into it. And sometimes all it takes is 3 words from a stranger to rewrite an entire destiny. If you're watching this right now and life feels impossible, remember this. You are never too broken, never too lost, and never too late to walk back toward your life. The road back may be long, but it always begins with one moment of courage and sometimes one voice saying, "Come with me."